brand new day here on Winning Begins at Home. Thanks for joining us. Glad you're with us. Music's banging. I'm loving it. We're having a good time this week as we're talking about some of the things that actually may get in our way to us having the second half of our dreams is the way I labeled it on Monday. The second half of the year has started. We're full on into July now. And if I'm not careful, there's going to be some stuff that's going to get in the way of what I really want. And the same thing's going to be true for you. If you missed those episodes the last 2 days, we talked about apathy 2 days ago, this idea of complacency. It gets in our way. Complacency can be a huge barrier to high performance, if you want to think about it that way. And then yesterday, we talked about our attitude. Our attitudes can really determine whether or not we're going to go to where we want to go. They'll hold us back. We know that. And I don't know very many negative people that are happy that are doing very well, but I don't know very many negative people who are trying to be positive. That's what I said yesterday. And so I hope you'll go back and listen to yesterday's episode. If you've got any area in your life where you're struggling right now, it's our attitude's got a lot to do with that. Our mindset is going to determine whether we achieve what we want to or not. So what do we do if we have some legitimate circumstances in our lives that are hard? And truthfully, we do have hard circumstances. Everybody listening, you probably have something in your life that you wish you could change. The circumstance is not the way you want it to be. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's I don't know what it is, but oftentimes circumstances are beyond our control. And yet here's what happens if we're not careful. We can allow our circumstances to really affect our attitude. That's yesterday it's great to say I want to be positive and all that, but what happens when I get in this circumstance? It's not great. Now I told you last week I had some time to think, and we had the holiday and that was all great, and I did some thinking about this. And here's something that was sort of a new, this probably won't be a new thought for you, but this was a new thought for me. What do we do when we get in a circumstance and we're faced with it? Maybe let's take the weather. This is the way I started thinking about this. This is kind of crazy, I know, but I started thinking there are times when we're, everything's sunny. It's summertime right now. It's great. What do we do when we get in those kind of environments where it's really hot and it's really sunny? Well, you're probably going to use some sunscreen on those days. And then there are other days where we've had some storms the last few days where it's raining. You're not going to probably need sunscreen on those days. You're going to need an umbrella. You're going to need, a raincoat, whatever. May not use the raincoat with it as hot as it is right now, but you probably need an umbrella with as hard as it's been raining. And I started thinking about these different places in the weather where we would adjust to the weather, the way we dress, the way we act, where we go, the way we take care of ourselves, all those kind of things. I think there's a parallel here when I start thinking about our situation. There's times where you need a covering, an umbrella covering. Things are really doomy and gloomy, and you're probably going to need some people to lean into, maybe a counselor, maybe a mentor, maybe somebody who can help you regain some perspective if things have gotten off track. Maybe you're having a conflict at work. You're going to need somebody that an ear that you can talk to, but it needs to be the right person. Like, who is that umbrella for you? Who is that person for you? Probably a friend, somebody that you're close to, that you trust, that can just maybe even just listen. They don't even have to give a lot of advice. Sometimes you just need somebody to listen, a release valve, so to speak. And I encourage you to find that person. But there's also times where our circumstances are really good, and we need to lean into that. And I used the language, I guess, last week about running up the score in the second half. If there are places where you have momentum right now, why would you not double down on that? Why would you not really try to lean in? And so the point today of my thinking here is there are places where we can make adjustments to our environment at any time. We used the halftime week a couple of weeks ago, and we said we want to assess the first half, we want to adjust, and then go in and attack the second half. But I want to remind you that you get to adjust at any point along the way. Anytime you have circumstances that are hard. And so some of the stuff we've been talking about, setting goals and let's go after it. you may not be in a season right now where that's realistic for you. You may be in survival mode here for a couple of weeks. But if that's the case, let's get to a point where we can get back to a healthy place where we can handle emotionally what we're up against, and we can go after something. If you're going to start something, new initiative, it's going to take massive amounts of energy. And so I want to encourage you to begin to think about some of this stuff. Where are those places where you're being held back right now by your circumstances? And if that's the case, it's okay, but you got to get back to a place where you're ready to move forward. Now, there are times where those circumstances can be really hard. You got to, I know somebody just had a death in their family. Those kind of things they can really derail us for a season. And so I want to just give you permission here to be in the season that you're in, but you don't want your season to become a pattern. There are times where our seasons can last for a while, but we don't want our seasons to last forever. We want to make sure that we get back to a place where we're thinking correctly, we're moving ahead. The grief, maybe it's even a situation of grief. The grief is never going to leave. I think about people that I've lost in my life, and I still think about them all the time. That's not going to go away. But one of the things that you can do to make that person proud is to make sure that you are adjusting as you go, and you're carrying with you the memory of that person, and you're not letting those circumstances impede you forever. They will hold you back for a while, I can tell you from experience, but they don't have to hold you back for forever. We really want to make sure that we're doing what we can to have the right attitude in any of those circumstances. And I'll just leave you with this final thought today. One of the things I've noticed in my life, if I'm not careful, I can let my circumstances, which are hard, and I'm battling those. Let's say I'm going against something that's really hard. If I'm not careful, I can let my emotions join my circumstances, and now I'm battling my emotions and my circumstances. It's like this 2-on-1 game going on. And that's not what I want to do. I want to remember yesterday. I want to make sure my attitude, I'm choosing to be positive. If I'll let my attitude join me in battling the circumstances, I think those circumstances can be easier to navigate as we go forward. So just some thinking, some of the things I've been thinking about lately. I don't want my circumstances to hold me back in the second half of this year. They can, if I'm not careful. There'll be some things that'll happen that'll be beyond my control. But I want to make sure that I do control the things that I can control. Let's go back to where we started the week. I can control my engagement. I don't want to be complacent, and I can control my attitude. I think if I'll do that, it'll make my circumstances easier. So I'm cheering for you. I hope you'll give some thought to what we're talking about today. Maybe even pick an area where you've let your circumstances become more than what they are. You've maybe even made a bigger deal out of something than it really is. There are some things that are big deals, but there's sometimes we make a big deal out of small stuff, and we let it really begin to affect the way we move forward. We don't want to do that. So give yourself a little check today. If you need to make some adjustments, I hope you'll do that. Feel free at any point over the next 6 months to call timeout in the middle of the second half and say, hey, I've got to make some adjustments today. These circumstances have gotten really hard, and I've got to do some things if I'm going to move forward. All right. Love you guys. Hope you'll join us tomorrow as we continue the conversation. Just trying to make sure we identify some of these things that'll hold us back in the second half if we're not careful. And we'll attack another one of those tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, winning begins at home.